Hi, so good evening and welcome to the IBD Ostomy Support Show. I'm Louise, aka Crohn's Writing, and welcome to tonight's show. We've only got 3 in the house this evening. Steffi's rather not well at the moment, and neither's Natalie. So what are we doing? So if I do a little bit of housekeeping for this evening. For those of you watching that aren't already subscribed, if you please click the little red button in the corner to subscribe to the channel and support us, I would be ever so grateful. What have I been up to the last week? Well, I've been itchy. Been up and down to Guy's and St Thomas's Hospital in the last week more times than I care to tell you. So I had patch testing done, and I found out I'm allergic to lavender, lanolin, lano oil, wool, and sticky stuff like Tecoderm and Mepifor. So yay me! I've had to chuck out all my shower gels. I've had been researching online for stuff that I can use because lano oil and lanolin is in a lot of commercially sold shower gel. So I think he spent about £10 on a bottle of almond oil stuff for me to be able to have a bath. And other downside is my hands. They don't think it's psoriasis and they don't think it's eczema. They think it's either my Crohn's appearing in a different place. 2, I could have active Crohn's and it's not active Crohn's. Or 3, it could be caused by the vedolizumab, which means I'm having that reviewed and I might have to stop it. So the only other option I've got is Stellara. And 4, it could be a combination of what I said before. So yay. I've had a cold. I've been a little bit shitty. So this week I've mainly been on the sofa in my pajamas watching Grey's Anatomy, doing some work. So what else? Right. Jasmine Stacey collection. For those of you that have seen either on my Crohn's Fighting page or Steffi's video with regards to the Jasmine Stacey underwear, the Ostomy Support page, or the IBD and Ostomy Support blogs, there has been a influx of us putting stuff up for Jasmine's crowdfunder. As of this evening, she's got 5 days left, but as of tomorrow morning, it's 4. So for any of you wishing to pledge to Jasmine's crowdfunder, then please do so. Her underwear is fantastic. Everything at the moment on her site, so for the full sets, are half price, so you're getting 50% off, which is more than a bargain. Alternatively, to support Jasmine, if you go to her website direct, which is the Jasmine Stacey collection, you'd be able to order some of her older lines from there. We're pleased to say that she's reached her target, which she originally set, which has now been stretched, but the stretch target would help more people than the target she's originally set, because that's for things like brochures for the NHS, for those of you that have just had ostomy surgery, things for like body confidence campaigns that Jasmine's got planned, and there's other bits and pieces, so please do take a look. And for the men watching, she has now branched out to the men's underwear, so boxers, so please have a look because they'd be well worth it, and it's ideal as a Christmas present.
I purchased.
Yeah.
So they come out in March, I think. She said the men's.
Unfortunately, box. I did do the men's boxes. As tempting as it was, I got myself one of the 4 new sets. So that's done. So that's the housekeeping done for this evening. So tonight we are covering what would you tell yourself with hindsight when first being diagnosed with a chronic illness. We're doing this across the board, not just IBD, because the show, as much as it says the IBD and Ostomy Support Show, not all of us have IBD. So I will pass you over to Rachel to do her introductions for this evening.
Oh, hello. Sorry, I've just clicked something. You've gone off. There we go. Hello. Hi, I'm Rachel, aka Rocking Two Stomas, and I'm smiling tonight. Last Thursday I wasn't smiling too much. I've had a hard week. Like, it's been a hard week at a hospital. I'm being so exhausted. I just haven't known. Normally I can badger through and crack on with it, and I haven't been able to. My mum and dad came up to kind of look after me and sort the flat out, which is lovely. But now I've sort of haven't really been myself. So, and I've been a bit aggy, haven't I, Steve? So I have struggled, but I went to the GP today and I've been told off for leaving it too late, going to the hospital, like presenting septic is too late. So, and I started antibiotics, and I think it's my bowel that's causing the sepsis, or presenting septic. So I just have to wait. But I think my mum's quite worried at the moment and sort of worried about infection control, and because it seems that my conduit is urostomy conduit is also prolapsed, so they want to do surgery for that. But I really want to find the cause before I have any more surgery done, and I've just got a feeling it's my bowel. So I'm trying to let go of it and just crack on. But I see Steve on Monday, which I am so looking forward to. So that'd be really nice, because I've missed him, and it's been hard. And now I've got him on my screen and can't get you off it. So I don't know how to do that. But yeah, so I'm not really doing. I haven't done a blog post this week. I didn't do one last week. I will be back on it next week and write a few blog posts. But I'm just trying to take it easy and not have so much stress. And I've kind of realised that my body isn't as well as I kind of think it is. So I just need a bit of me time. But yeah, so how about you, Steve?
Hi.
I'm just going to sign off and sign back in.
Okay.
Hi, Rachel.
Hi, I'm Steve, aka #Baghdaddy. My week, been getting over man flu, which everyone knows is the worst thing in the world. Still got it a little bit, but feeling a lot better. What the problem was is they gave me the flu jab whilst having flu, even though I told her that my immune system was shot. I haven't really done much, to be fair. I've been working. I've sculpted a stoma guard from a bump cap, like a hard hat. All the stoma guards I've tried are too small. They don't cover my hernia for the boxing match. The one that I've made myself is perfect, and so I've just got to sew it into a vest now, and then I'm all ready. It's just about training then. I've been back to the gym a couple of times this week. Been to see my dad in his nursing home. Haven't really done much more. I'm looking forward to seeing Rachel on Monday. That's me, really.
Yay! So that's all you've been up to, is it?
Yeah, not a lot, really.
Are you sure?
Now you say that, I'm trying to think now.
Yeah, so am I. I can't think of anything extra.
I'm sure I'll have some news. It'll come out. I don't know.
You know what I'm like. I'm only teasing.
No, I think that's it. I'm sure it is.
Oh yeah, what else did I do this week? Oh yeah, I went grey and had all my hair cut off because I got bored and I had to change my hair. Right, so this week we are covering what would you tell a newly diagnosed patient with hindsight that you have now with your illness. I think we should start with you first, Rachel, because you're a bit more calmer than the rest of us. Like calm trainers coming.
So say that again. What would you tell a newly diagnosed patient?
What would you tell yourself with hindsight as a newly diagnosed patient?
Okay, so just really briefly, I have some autonomic neuropathy and pure autonomic failure. I also have POTS and some other autonomic disorders. But I thought for years I had to fight to be healed. So I didn't get a diagnosis until about 4 years ago, and I've been ill for about 9 years. So a lot of that time I got sent to psychiatric, said it was all in my head. They said that things that have happened in the past is why I haven't been able to void properly, which is rubbish, and why I wasn't able to, like, actually my rectal muscles and peristalsis couldn't happen. They kind of said it was all in my head, and I had to really battle. So I think it would be like, trust your gut, ironically, like trust your, to me it would be like, trust your instinct and don't lose hope. I think it was like, I felt like it was such a battle that I didn't really know which way. I didn't know. I started not believing my head. I didn't believe myself. I thought, am I really in as much pain as I thought I was? And I had some other stuff going on as well, I wasn't in a good relationship, and home life wasn't good, but I didn't quite know what was true. And then with the medication as well, I just felt like I was in this kind of parallel universe, and it would be to, like, write down questions. Like, I tried to do it on my own and go to appointments on my own. My mum and dad came to appointments when they could, and I still try to do it on my own now. But I think it would be go with somebody, because they can ask questions. When I had my bladder removed, I took one of my really close mates, Brummy Steve, and he came with me. And when they talked to that, you cannot have kids we've done this, because of how we have to do it for you. You can't have kids. I totally didn't hear that bit, and I didn't hear the cells had mutated. And afterwards, he sort of, you know, challenged me on it and told me what was said, because I just didn't want to hear it. And I think it would be, don't do it by yourself. I tried to do it by myself and failed miserably. And I think I wish I'd known about the groups and Facebook groups sooner, because it's only since starting my blog I got a message from the admin of Urostomy Awareness who said there's a group for urostomies. And I had no idea. I didn't even think to look on Facebook. I just didn't think. So that's what I would tell myself.
That's really interesting, that is.
I think a very good friend did actually tell me that the journey in accepting what you've got wrong with you is key to certain things. And I believe somebody told me that last week. I wonder who that was.
Who, me?
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about Kate.
No, that was you.
Oh, is it key to accepting things? Yeah, but I still now get very much in denial. Like, I just crack on. But I think I'd rather be like that as long as I've accepted it. Or I have accepted where I am, but I go through stages of just wanting to enjoy life. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it, as long as I don't harm people around, which I, at the moment, you know, trying to get me to take the antibiotics the doctors told me to take. And these two have been bit frustrated. But I can be a bit stubborn, so that doesn't help.
Yeah, but I think being stubborn sometimes is key to getting over it. I mean, Jamie's just said on here, advice would also be surround yourself with positive people, and you actually find out how strong you are when you're going through the illness.
Jamie, that is so true, because I very much did it on my own to start with, and the person I was with wasn't very helpful, and I think now I've surrounded myself with positive people. I found who I am. Not only like now, I feel like I've come out. I'm glad for my chronic illness, because it stopped me going down a path I was going down. And it's made me realize, like, I've reached different layers in myself, like layers I never thought I would reach. And I know I'm generally so much happier now than my body confidence is far better now than it was before my stomas. And I think that's a really good point.
A good point.
It is. I mean, Debbie made a comment, because you know what I'm like, and I tend to have a little bit of a share up in the groups. Debbie said that join a support group and get all the advice you can get. She said she had an emergency laparotomy, one day pain, next day colostomy bag, boom. She felt totally alone, petrified and lost. After a few days of feeling disgusted with her stoma, she asked the stoma nurse if cleaning it was the equivalent to wiping one's ass. She said yes. From then on, she was fine. Then she found the support groups on Facebook, and there is so much help and support. And she said she hopes that makes some sense, guys.
That's great.
Definitely. I mean, the Facebook pages, they are brilliant. You've just got to join many. You've got to ask lots of questions. Knowledge is power, isn't it? The more you...
Yeah, but...
it can be scary as well, don't get me wrong. But the more you know, the more better equipped you are at dealing with something. Do you know what I mean? That's the way I felt. If I could tell myself something, it would be don't fear the operation, really, because I always thought of it as a last resort to my IBD, to my ulcerative colitis. I thought, like, you know, if I'd have known how well I'd have felt after my op, I'd have had my op 2 years previous and saved all that suffering, because the 2 years before, it was horrific. You know, and I honestly, I couldn't have cared whether I was here or not. It was only for the fact that my kid's been here I wouldn't have done anything. Am I here?
Okay. Yeah, I can still hear you.
Yeah, that's all right. I don't know whether my internet decided to go on a little bit of a doozer.
I think I would be like, you know, find out, talk to people about the op. For every good story, there's going to be a bad story, but you know, the more you can speak about it. I mean, I felt fantastic when I'd come out of my op, and it mentally, physically, you know, and I've tried to sort of pass this on to people who are having their op, you know, and take away some of the fear factor. And the amount of people that have come out of the other side and said, no, you were absolutely right. Fingers crossed, I haven't heard anyone say, no, you're wrong.
I mean,
Get away from me.
I was speaking to my mum about this on the phone today to see if she could impart any mum wisdom. or just generally tell me what I should and shouldn't be doing. And I asked my mum, and my mum said to me, she said, you've got to look at it from your point of view. She said, you went undiagnosed for 2 years. She said, you only got diagnosed because you developed a fistula. She said, you've taken each day as it's come. She said, you've not looked at 10, 20 or 30 years, she said, of how bad your life is going to be. She said, you've just taken it day by day. And I think sometimes taking it day by day is better than trying to, because at the end of the day, there's different people. There's some people that are going to wallow and can't find the positive in the situation and in their illness, which fair enough, sometimes some people don't. But then you've got the positive people that will find the positive in that situation, and then you've got the ones that are in the middle, and sometimes they have the negative and sometimes they have the positive. There's a happy medium. I mean, for me, I think I'm always in the positive, and to be honest, that does grind me down at times, and when I'm not well, I just sort of disappear and don't say anything about it.
I agree with that.
Always been positive though, Louise, because I know I haven't. I've not been as positive about. But if I think about when I had my urostomy, then my positivity got better 2 years ago. I think for me the urostomy was key. I didn't even know you could have it. My suprapubic catheter for 7 years was hell. I still part of the suprapubic catheter groups, to not forget how awful it was. Yeah. And to kind of keep me connected, and to tell people like that there is light under the tunnel. I thought there was nothing else that could be done apart from a suprapubic catheter. Only when my cells mutated and they said we'll whip it out. That was it. And I didn't know that you could even have that. And I think research is.
I think the Facebook groups for a fact, because when you find out you've got IBD or whatever problems you have, as soon as you find other people with similar problems, you can share your stories. You don't feel so alone. I found the amount of people I was talking to with similar or the same or worse or not as bad, suddenly your problem, it's shared, and you can deal with it mentally a lot better. That's what I found. And just by giving someone advice from what you've been through, and then you're finding advice, you're constantly learning. But I found that I weren't alone. And so I find that really, really good for my mental state of mind.
Identification. In anything that you have any struggles in your life, identification is the key. And that's what I never had all the way through my illness, because my stomas aren't due to IBD, aren't due to cancer. I felt really isolated with a rare illness that nobody knows anything about. Doctors don't know much about it, only that it's very debilitating and has its own issues. But I felt very alone and very lost. It was only when I found the groups and realised I'd concentrate so much on not having cancer, not having IBD, and being on my own, that it was a lot how I made myself feel. And I think it was I realised that when I'm in the groups, a stoma is a stoma. Doesn't matter for what reason you have. It's like doing this show. I felt bad doing this show because I have divergent colitis and diverticulitis, which may be what's flaring at the moment, possibly. But that's in my large bowel because it's still there because of my ileostomy. Like that's just a complication I've had. But I felt like less than sometimes being in the groups and on this show because I didn't have my stomas to IBD. But that's a lot of what I put on it, not necessarily what's true.
Yeah, but I'll be perfectly honest with you guys. I've only been using the support groups for nearly the last year. Prior to that, I did it all by myself.
Did you know they existed, Louise? Because I didn't have a clue.
I knew the CC UK one existed, and I used that for years. But unfortunately, in my personal opinion, that the main page is personally going slightly to hell at the moment. The other Crohn's and colitis group, the private one, is brilliant. However, the one that everybody has access to, I don't like so much. That's just personally me, because I've just felt that others are picking on other people when they shouldn't be picking on them.
See, that's the one. That's the one. The very first one that I joined. That was, but literally, I was asking pure medical questions, and you know what? All I was getting back was answers from hundreds of people because it's so big. A varied arrangement of answers, which is what I needed. And obviously, if you want to go on a fun group, and post pictures of your dog or your new hair, then you can, and you can find out about IBD as well. So there's plenty of groups out there to pick and choose what you want. But if it's a pure medical question, then I'm picking and choosing. if it's about my stoma, it's a stoma group that I'm mentioning. Do you know what I mean? Because there is the choice out there now. I don't get involved in drama.
No, it's not worth the drama, is it?
No, it isn't.
That's why I stay off.
I've got on the drama groups for that.
I think we also got to not forget. We've also got to not forget as well, like how when I went to the UA event in July or August, I realized, September, I can't even remember when it was, but I realized how important like also face-to-face meetings are for some people. Like Steffi runs a support group near her, and I can never get exactly where she lives. I want to say Darlington, but no, that's not right. Darlington, they're not. Oh, I don't know, something like that. But she runs the group there, and like I think when I was in the UA with the UA, I realized how yes, it's great having the support network, but also face-to-face meets are great as well, and like it's good to actually be with somebody in person.
That's why
not just to be like internet.
Yeah, that's why I have the stoma buddy system. I think talking to somebody face to face, you can. It's a little bit like doing this show as a support system. People aren't necessarily talking to us face to face. They might be typing out the questions, but they're getting an actual voice and a face for the answer.
You know, it's an invisible illness, isn't it? You know, you do feel alone, but when you come on the groups, there's thousands of people worldwide. You know, so all of a sudden you ain't that special. You know, there's 10,000 other people that have got this illness. So it's a, you know, you've got a lot of information that you can take on. I found that, you know, things become easier to accept. The thought of an operation, you know, wasn't as bad. Even though mine was emergency, I kind of knew about it beforehand. I knew what was available.
You see, I didn't, and that's when my positivity took a dive for a good couple of years.
Well, I literally posted on CCUK on the night I was told my surgery would be the following day. I'd gone in the day before, and they said, right, we're going to get rid of your bowel tomorrow. I posted on CCUK just a message about being worried, being scared, not really. I'd had the disease 8 years, but I must have had like 200 messages back, you know, from people saying, obviously offering support, but a lot of people saying, you know, this is what happens, this is what you're going to go through. The following morning, all I was worried about was the epidural, and that's it. The doctor said, have you got any questions? No. You might as well put a white lab coat on me. I felt like a doctor already, you know what I mean?
Do you know what? I think with me, because my first ileostomy was a mixture of both Crohn's and a surgical cock-up, I didn't have an option in the matter. You imagine you wake up, you've had a C-section, they take you down for a CT scan, you wake up 3.5 weeks later, pulling the intubation tube out, and then having a load of doctors tell you that you've got an open wound and you've got an ileostomy and this has got to be packed and you're on TPN and everything else. I'll be perfectly honest, I was a bit of a miserable bastard.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what that is like. Like I think we don't really talk about it as much, like what it must be like emotionally to.
Well, you're gonna have to go through the grieving process, aren't you?
Yeah.
Like big time.
Do you know what?
The life that you had, it's changed, doesn't it, completely?
Yeah, but to be perfectly honest with you, and I think that's some of the reasons why I still struggle with the night terrors and the PTSD now, is I never grieved. I had Maisie to think about, as well as trying to make sure that I got out of hospital and recovered.
Perhaps that's yet to come. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but the thing is Steve, as you know yourself, when you have a child, it just sort of takes over. Your life isn't your life anymore, is it? You have to put everybody else first before yourself. So anything that I deal with and anything that I do always tends to take a back seat compared to other things.
It doesn't mean that it's over, though, does it? You know, since sort of living on my own, you know, I've grieved for my childhood for like 39 years ago. I've cried tears from things that happened when I was a child, and I can think about them now without getting upset. But they've just been buried, but they're not gone. They don't go anywhere. They just stay there and they wait until you're ready. You know, the mind is a powerful tool, and it'll hold on to stuff and keep it a secret for a bit, but eventually it's going to come up. And then you deal with it, don't you? You have to.
It's very true.
Dark.
it'd be really no, it does really true, and I think it'd be really interesting if there was a study like that, how if there is a difference in emergency surgery and planned surgery, how much that affects a patient like living with the stoma, whether there is like, you know, you can imagine, but it would be quite an interesting case study if that was done.
Yeah, but I don't think they'd ever get a definitive answer because everybody's so different. And like I said, because you get some that are not in the positive, then you get the ones that are majorly positive, and then you get the ones in the middle. Which group are they going to focus on?
Yeah. I also remember reading something in a case study about things that have happened in a child's life. For instance, myself or you or anyone else that have had a knock-on effect and caused an illness. You know, like traumatic experiences that have happened when you were young that have actually manifested into an illness, for instance, IBD or whatever. I've actually reading about this, and quite interesting. You know, if you look into people who have cancers and things like this, and then you find out. Go on.
I personally struggle with that. I get no, because this was said to me and I really struggled with it. However, the more open I've become with kind of meditation, mindfulness, stuff like that, the more reading I've been doing, like self-help reading. Like before, I haven't done any for a while at the moment, but the more I've read, the more I kind of realized that yes, that like Louise Hay writes all about that, how to heal yourself and things like that. And I believe I still struggle with it. I always will struggle with it, thinking maybe manifested it myself, but who knows?
I'm kind of open to it. I am. I just think I don't know about manifesting it yourself, but you know, like I've read a few cases. I mean, it might just be coincidence. You know, something dramatic has happened in the child's life, and then it could be like 20, 30 years later, he's developed it, and it's proving it, isn't it?
Well,
you know, it could be just coincidence, but it's kind of like whether you believe it or not. Saying, for instance, you know, if you believe in God or not, really, it's a personal preference, isn't it? And nobody's particularly right or wrong, are they?
Well,
you're never going to get a case study, I don't think, that will prove anything.
No,
sorry, Louise.
No, that's okay. That's extreme. It makes a change, doesn't it? Because it's normally one of us. Right, Elaine's just emailed in. She said, I think I'm in the middle just now, feeling all right about my Crohn's and things going in the right direction, but she's just got other stuff on top of her that pulls her down at the moment, and she's feeling in the middle. I completely understand what Elaine's saying, because how do you deal with work?
It's life on top of life stuff that people who are well and are healthy struggle with, but we've got to deal with life stuff on top of our illness. And it makes us quite special people, really. Like we're quite strong, but also we're going to have days where we just can't cope. We're going to have days where we can carry the world. I think it's the up. We just sort of have to go with the up and downs, really, of it.
You really do. With work, I found myself just living for the day, just hoping and praying that I was going to be okay the following day, and you know, getting up. I mean, my arthritis was the worst, but actually leaving the house 20 minutes before I got to get in the car, because that's how long it was taking me to get down the stairs, you know, and pray that by the time I got to work, the tablets were working. And every day was like one day at a time.
Elaine says, Steve, that she agrees with you, and she does the Susan Zadiki stuff as well. They're saying that the ACEs is adverse childhood experiences, which in science says that if you've had more than 2 ACEs in your childhood, then you're more than likely to get a chronic illness. It's funny you say that, though, because somebody did actually message me on Instagram the other day and said apparently those of us that were with IBD have bigger eyes. Okay, so that's
really?
Do you know what it is for me? Like, I'll be perfectly honest, first time round, when I had my Crohn's diagnosis, I was positive because I actually had a diagnosis and I knew what I was dealing with. I can't say too much on air because I think somebody's twigged what I do and occasionally watches. Do you know what it is? I think with me, because I actually had the diagnosis and because I was ill for so long, I just did what I normally do, and I buried my head in a very big vat of sand and just continued on my happy, normal self. When I had the ileostomy first time round, I think because I had Maisie to look after, I never really grieved what happened. I had a pretty shit 3 years with it, to be perfectly frank with you. Incisional hernia and a open wound, and having to cut half your base plate off of your stoma bag to try and get it to fit so it doesn't go into your wound was a bit of a dicey time. And I'll be perfectly honest, when they said they was doing my resection, I could have kissed the surgeon's ass. I was so happy that I was going to be put back to normal and put back together. With hindsight, if they'd have said to me when they did my resection what I would have spent the 4 years after the resection doing, I would never have had it done, and I would have had them resite the stoma, had it made permanent, and left it at that.
Mm-hmm.
I
Hindsight is a wonderful thing, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. If they just said to me after my resection, by the way, we took out most of your large bowel, so you're never going to have a solid bowel movement, and you're going to have a sore bum for the next 4 years, which is constant, along with scar tissue, and every time you go to the toilet you feel like the world is falling out of your bottom, then I wouldn't have had it done. I'd have just had the plastic surgery done and had it moved. But however, in hindsight, I think that taught me a lot. I think it taught me that when my Crohn's did get really bad, I can still deal with it. I can still go to work. I can still survive. Yeah. But you shouldn't have to survive. I know it sounds mad. We're saying to you that you can survive, but you shouldn't have to survive. Ask for help. There's a reason. You can't do it all by yourself. You can't. I've tried. It's not possible.
It isn't. I got to a point where I was that poorly, and it became the norm to feel that rough. I forgot what it was like to feel. But then once my op was done and I returned back to work after my 8 weeks, I felt fantastic. I absolutely felt amazing, and I thought, I didn't realise I could feel so well. So like that, I learned how to smile again, if you will. I just got to get my teeth sorted out now, but that's pretty much it. You know what I mean? I felt like 10, 15 years younger straight away, and that's by having my bowel removed. You know what I mean? And I never thought I'd ever feel like that. So all I had to do really was build my confidence up about my stoma, and I've done that.
Mm.
You know, stoma is really positive.
It's not the end of the world. In the urostomy group at the moment, we've got a few people who are fighting to get a urostomy, realise that they need it and are fighting to get it. We've got some which are struggling with accepting that they have it, and I think it's not the end of the world, but it's also how you view it. Like, it takes a while to adapt, but for me it was like I wouldn't be with Steve now if he had met me 2 years ago. I was a nightmare. I was an absolute nightmare. I was not very good to my family, and you know, there were other reasons for that as well, but I wasn't great, and they've just given me so much that I'm just so internally grateful for that. My stomas have given me you guys, given me the show, given me all the girls, they've given me the groups, they've given me friends, they've given me like a purpose again, and I never had one, you know. And it's like I trained in medical health care, and now I'm sort of doing it in a total different capacity, not professional, but I am sort of still in that, and it's amazing. And I think whatever you plan your life to be out, you know, like I wanted to have kids, family, you know, and I still struggle with that today, not able to have that, but that was my a career. All of this is what I wanted when I was 18, and it hasn't worked out like that, but I'm the happiest that I didn't imagine I would be this happy. And it isn't materialistic things, it's what I've reached inside my heart through hardships. I wouldn't have found me, and it's been hard at times, but now I'm the best I've been for the last year, really good. And it's just knowing that you're not alone. There's other people out there. Talk, don't do it by yourself. Keep communicating with people, and if you're struggling, say it. For so many years I was on my own. I thought I was the only ever double bagger. I didn't realise that's why I started with a Facebook group, because I know now we've got 160 members in like 5 months, which is epic. But I never knew that I never knew there was somebody else with two. So I'm grateful for the internet. It's opened up a massive world for me that I never knew existed. And loads of my friends used to say you need to go to support networks, but because I had, my condition was so rare, there were only a handful of us in the UK with it, and they wouldn't give our details out, so we didn't know who they were. So yeah.
Do you know what though? It's the same thing again though, isn't it? It's acceptance. If you can't accept it and you're struggling to accept it, then you're gonna it's feasible really that you're going to struggle to continue on with life. Because what you need to remember, yes, you have a chronic illness, and chronic illness can be classed under so many different spectrums. So things like cancer, neurological problems, IBD, autonomic neuropathy, and I can say it, yay me. There are so many reasons as to how you can get a chronic, get a chronic illness, but there's also so many reasons how you can get a stoma. But I think what you need to remember when you've had that surgery and when you wake up, that stoma has either A, saved your life, B, improved your quality of life,
give you back your dignity.
Give you back your dignity, giving you back your life.
I was chatting to, sorry, Grace.
No, you're fine, lovely. I
was chatting to someone, this was probably a year ago, and it was a gentleman. I posted a positive post about my stoma, and this was the only there was about, I don't know, 50 people that were involved in this chat, and he said something like, I would rather die than have a stoma, and I said I can't get to grips with that. You've just said that. I weren't nasty. There wasn't like everyone jumping on him. They were just saying, can't believe that you said that. You've got IBD. You'd rather. And my first question was, do you have children? Which he said he didn't. Now I kind of knew that by his answer, the way that he'd said that. And then he finds out that he's going to have an ostomy. But the amount of people that joined in with my defence of having a stoma. And to see him change over the number of conversations that we had, and I think he's got a stoma now, and he's living really well with it.
That's amazing.
His whole mindset was, no, it's just a thought of, you build yourself up. You think, no, I couldn't live with that. And if only you know how. It all depends on how bad your suffering is, doesn't it? If you're suffering and you can cope, that's fine. But if you can't cope, if you get to a point where you're having to cope, there's got to be something better out there. And having the op for me was the be all and end all. It changed my life 100%.
I just had a message off Graham. So Graham said, I had no one to talk to about my illnesses for many years. And as a child, it was brushed under the carpet. That's why I kept it a secret for nearly 30 years.
We like Graham. Graham is amazing.
Yeah, he sent me a message, but because it was private, I wasn't too sure if I was allowed to say it.
I know. I asked. I just messaged. I said, "Can I say it?" And he said, "Yeah, of course."
Originally, Graham posted like it weren't a negative post. It was a post about Kelly's accident. Do you remember the post?
Oh yeah, that one.
But it weren't negative, and I didn't treat it as though it was a negative post. It wasn't.
Yeah,
it's just that most people wouldn't post something like that, but she did, and it was a good post. And Graham has just gone from strength to strength since,
Yeah, he has. It's
really
amazing
has.
to see.
Kelly has highlighted what happens to all of us. Well, not all of us, because some people seem to never leak, and having an ostomy is sunshine, rainbows, and unicorns. However, you do have leaks, and the fact that Kelly was brave enough to put that up on Facebook, she dealt with the positive and the backlash so well. She did a really good job.
It's one of the things that I wouldn't have done. But it needs to be done, and I weren't that comfortable about looking at it. But it's one of those things, isn't it? It's real shit, man.
It is real shit.
But I also think, going back to Graham's comment, I think, it must have been, so different having a stoma about 30 years ago.
Yeah.
I think that how alone I felt like 5 years ago, that's not 30 years. It must be complete. And the bags were different as well. They weren't as good.
It was secret, wasn't it? It wasn't talked about.
Yeah.
There was a stigma attached. You didn't speak to anyone about anything like that.
There was a stigma. It's only been the last few years, really. certainly since not before I had my first stoma compared to now, everyone is so more open about it and so more flashy. I mean, back in 2009, I think if I had to flash somebody a picture of my stoma and put it up online, I'd have probably been put on a witch hunt and hunted down to where I lived.
Well, I think one of the first people that did it was Jess Goodman, who was undercover ostomy, Canadian lady. Have you seen her, read about her?
The name rings a bell.
She was one of the first ladies. I think it was 10 years ago she did hers, and she started the campaign. And I think she started it, and I think kind of went from there. There were probably people before that, you know, because there always are. But can I just give a little mention as well that Steffi wrote a post out about it was Letter to My Younger Self, and it kind of talked about, I liked the bit where she said that she would tell herself to research the shit out of a J pouch, and it was a really good post, and it kind of it was quite deep, and I really enjoyed it. And so that's on her site, Colitis to Ostomy. But I think research is so important. I didn't do it the first time around. When I had my ileostomy, I didn't research.
Well, Jamie's just said...
kind of scared of what I'd find. But the more that I know, the more I would do research now. Like, I couldn't have watched an operation. And I still couldn't.
Oh, I did.
Even if it was offered to me. Oh, no.
Before my urostomy surgery, night before, I was looking at how my bladder was going to get removed, how they're going to take the colon, and I watched it, and my surgeon went, "You're so weird."
I wouldn't have been able to eat for a month.
Sorry, Louise, what were you saying?
No, Jamie said, I was like, no way me having a stoma, but wow, it's been hard, but I'd rather be healthy, and it also gives him a reason to flash his stomach.
Yeah.
And Elaine's just emailed back in, and she said, I have to say, if I ever need to get a stoma, I think I'd be okay with it because of all of you, because the fear because the fear of the possible unknown is gone, but knowing what potential is and the advantages and disadvantages.
That really melts my heart, man. That's really lovely to hear, because that's all like I think Gills and Steve try to do is to just help just, you know, kind of the other side. You know, not everybody has positive experiences, but it's just...
No, you're absolutely right there.
No, I'll be perfectly honest, I've got to go back and have the rest taken out, so there's a possibility that they'll move my stoma from where it is now to somewhere else, dependent on the scar tissue that's built back up in there again when I go in to have the Barbie butt completed. But it is, I think if you have the chance to research it, you know, you have more hindsight, so it's a better peace of mind. But I know my surgery was planned, and they did 3D models of it from the MRI and the CT scans for 7 months prior to doing the op, because of the amount of damage on the inside. But
just little bits of information can mean so much. You know, I did my bag video, and I just thought, spur of the moment, I'll do a video. I even washed it before I did it, so there was no poo on the screen. You know, I was changing a clean stoma. And I never for the life, I thought, you know, people are going to like this, people are going to watch it, you're going to get some people going, that's disgusting, you know, and it had thousands and thousands of views. And just when you get sick of reading people saying, oh, you know, you're such an inspiration and all this, and I'm like, no, it's just me changing. It's like you showing a video of you wiping your bum, you know what I mean? And this is how you do it. But that's it, really. You know, when you get thousands and thousands of messages, it kind of becomes like a bit real. And from Australia as well. But same with Rachel when you did yours. I'd never seen a prolapse, not moving about either. You know what I mean? And it was just really interesting. But people will see that
only because of you. Because before then, I had no inclination to ever put it on YouTube, because it was just so disgusting. But we made sure that we swirled the bag out so there was no poop on it, and I did it in such a way that I haven't had one negative comment, and that blew me away.
You're not gonna, but you're gonna. It's about education, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've had that many people that saying, well, because of you and your video, I'm not worried about having a bag. I thought it was going to be so hard and this and that. I mean, okay, fair enough. My stoma is really well behaved. You know what I mean? And not everyone's is. But it's just a deadpan delivery. This is what I do. It was a 4-minute video, and that was with talking as well. So, but you don't think when you're doing it how many people it will reach.
No.
You know what I mean? And the sort of people have recognised me from my video, and I'm like, whoa, this is just ridiculous. And yet I put it on YouTube, and I've got like 60 views.
I had a really nice comment on mine saying that it said, like, I've just had surgery and everything's gone wrong, but you seeing how you cope with your prolapse and how you just get on with it kind of helped me, like, not take for granted. And you said the same as well, Steve, didn't you? Take for granted. Like, you wrote a post about taking for granted your stones after seeing my prolapse that one day when it was huge.
Yeah.
And it's sort of, and that's quite nice to hear, because, you know, I wish I sort of looked after it better, because I think I overlifted, and I'm sure that is what's caused it. I was stubborn. I didn't listen to after post-op instructions. So I'm really, like, make sure I tell people that you don't lift is not worth it at all.
I kind of sort of agree, but I wore all the protective gear, all the vanilla blush, all the, you know, when I've been training, all the stuff.
No, I'm talking post-op. I lifted post-op. I didn't listen to instruction.
Yeah, but this is what I'm on about. I wore all the stuff, but I've still managed to get a hernia. It's kind of like it was going to happen. It was going to happen.
Post-op, I was making my mum suffer and flashing her in the recovery room. And also checking they hadn't cut my tattoos off again. Do you know what? I think being chronically ill is such a funny, fickle thing, and everybody reacts to it differently. Not everybody will deal with it well. There are others that exceed expectations with dealing with their illness, and then there's the others that are in the middle playing field. So I think one of the most important things is that, as ridiculous as this sounds, and for those of you watching that may not agree with it, you can't let what you've got wrong with you define you. If you let it define you, it will win. There is, I believe, to a degree, there is such a thing that with the nature, nurture and science, and with your own body, and this is me going a bit hippie here, I've had too many talks with Rachel.
I think that's a compliment.
If you have the belief system that it's not going to beat you, and you're going to be fine, and you're going to live a normal life, and you're going to continue on in your life, then I think that positivity helps with the illness. If you don't, then I think sometimes you always thinking that because you are chronically ill, even though you may have, you know, periods of remission and everything else, if you think that you're always ill, then your body is going to think that it's always ill. I think with regards to the diagnosis and everything else, you need to talk to people, go for counselling, or even CBT training, which is the cognitive behavioural therapy. Just anything to try and help you and to try and understand the illness. If you don't understand it, or if you research it to the back end and beyond, to the point of where you know way too much information, and you're not actually dealing with what you've got, and you're dealing with things that could happen in 10 or 15, 20 years time, or may never happen, you need to concentrate on the here and now, I think, more than anything else.
It's a process. It's a process, and you're not going to be positive overnight. And I think that's also okay. Like, it's okay to not be okay, but it's okay not to stay in it. You know, it's like, it's recognizing, okay, I feel this way. Now, how can I do to get out of it? It's okay to not be positive all the time. I've recently realized that I can maybe there are masks that you can put on, but I think what Louise is saying is not focusing. If you focus on the future and that, then you worry about, you can predict what's going to happen, and nobody knows what's going to happen. And I think it's keeping it in a day, and it's okay to not feel okay, but then it gets to a point going, right, what am I going to do myself to be accountable and to try and get out of this, to mentally feel better, to cope with your, because the better you are mentally, you can cope with your physical illnesses better.
Yeah.
And it's doing nurturing things for yourself that can help in that way.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think the main thing, look at your face, yeah, all right.
No, I don't know why I did that.
The main thing, I think, this is the Jerry Springer bit, you see, where he says the little bit at the end, is acceptance. You've got to accept what's happened to you. It's the only way that you're going to come to terms with anything. You know, you might not be the confident person in the world. You might want to keep it all a secret from everyone. That's fine, and that's up to you. But you have to accept what's happened in order to go forward. I think that's the main.
And that grieving process, like Louise mentioned and you mentioned, that grieving process, and that you're going to have stages where you don't want to be here. You're gonna have stages that you're going to feel, I can't actually go anymore, and then it's going around to your loved ones and your friends and to help pull you up when you can't pull yourself up, and then when you can pull yourself up, then you do things to help you feel better, and then you can accept it a lot better. But it's going to take time. It does not happen overnight. I have not always been this positive. I really haven't. But the girls and Steve don't know that because they didn't know me back then.
Same.
You're not alone. Not alone.
Yeah, I'll be perfectly honest. There are times, see, I don't like crying in front of people. I won't even cry in front of Ben. I won't even cry in front of my mother. I'll have a moment if it's building up and I'm feeling rough, like I have been recently. I haven't cried yet. However, have a good cry. Crying's good.
Yeah.
Hey, admittedly, I do it on my own with a set of earphones in, listening to my secret emo music. I won't
even cry in front of onions. I would not. I would not let them see my upsetness.
Yes, you do.
Or a good old Evanescence album.
Lie, Steve.
Rubbish.
It's difficult, and for those of you watching, you probably think that we've been spouting a load of old bull this evening. However, it's difficult, and it really is difficult. And I think most of all, more than anything, we can all understand what you're feeling, because we all have different perspectives. We all have different things, and yeah, and I can see my cat lounging on the cat tree in the back. Look, if I move the camera, look. Oh yeah, and that's my stoma deliveries there.
If you want to go really deep, you could say like, how it's also what somebody's been through in their life, how they've been brought up, and how they cope with chronic illness. There's so much to it. It's not as simple as, it's like body confidence, isn't it? Why everybody feels different body confidence, and then when you have a stomas, that affects it. But there might have been that concern with body confidence before the stomas.
Yeah,
it's so deep. When you go to psychology behind it is so deep. It's really fascinating. I find that stuff really fascinating.
Environment as well, family, and having people behind you. It's all going to change your outlook and the way that you recover, or the way that you get over something, or deal with news that could be quite life-changing.
Do you know what? It's like coming out of hospital appointments. I remember, especially after my resection, I never cried before I had my resection done. Okay, that's a lie. I cried when I had the open wound, but Jesus Christ, it was freaking massive. I could actually fit my fists in it. But hey-ho. I never cried prior to when I first had the diagnosis. From 2003 until 2009, I was absolutely fine. And then when I had the resection done and I had all the problems with the diarrhea, and I'd gone for MRI scans and CT scans, and my consultant told me it was in my head. I'm like, but that is not in my head. I said, you cannot tell me what I've just given you in that fecal cow protection bottle is in my head. It is like that constantly. And I used to cry coming out of the appointments because it didn't matter what medication they give me, what I was using, it just didn't work. I have one of those systems, and I think I've realised half of it now is because of the amount that I did have taken out. Medication goes for me like speed. So
we were discussing this the other day, Steve and I, that tablets don't, and I've now just got some multivitamin and B12 and some other stuff like the spray.
I'm all right with tablets.
Sorry, Louise, I butted in then.
No, you're fine. No, you're not bad.
I'm all right with
you're
tablets.
Bad when you don't
I can eat a Sunday dinner, and 3 hours later I can feel the peas.
Oh, Steve, we have to lower the tone, don't you?
No. This is
you lower the tone.
This is the IBD and Ostomy Support.
And that's called "We Like to Play with Our Food After It's Been Through."
Steve loves it. He's all wiggle. Let's have a feel.
If anybody can say that they don't do it, then there's something wrong with them.
They're lies.
They tell porky pies. It's when you put your hand over, especially when you've got the convex bag as well, and you can tell what it is before you push it down. you learn the consistency through touch.
You can't do that. You can't do that with a real working bottom, can you?
Oh, Steve.
It's true, though. It's true.
Oh my God! I'm sorry, Mum. I'm sorry.
Your mum be laughing at that one. I'm sure of it. Hi, Jill.
That's all right. Graham's just said he loves to play with his food. The only way you can get that close is if the tissue paper was in front of you. Yeah, I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself there, Steve. You opened yourself.
That's it. I kept mine clean.
You opened yourself.
Right, 5 minutes. What's next week? 4 minutes.
Right, next week. I've had a couple of requests, one from Elaine and some from other people, on how to get through the Christmas party season, both with IBD and both with stomas, because as much as we love a Christmas party, sometimes we have limitations. So I think what we'll be doing next week is going through those limitations. So things like alcohol, especially with the stoma, how to not drink Red Bull. What else?
Do you know what? Maybe Steve and I could do, like, we could have some homework that we have to go out and have a Christmas party.
Oh, I've got my
in Birmingham.
I've got my Christmas party outfit, and I'm going out. If anybody wants me at the beginning of December, you ain't getting hold of me because I'm dancing on tables. And I even did lunges in the new changing room to make sure that I could climb on said tables with the skirt that I had.
Did the lunges?
Oh yeah, I had to, because I had to make sure I wasn't going to be flashing anybody getting up onto these bleeding tables where our mates booked us in for the night.
Are you allowed to dance on the tables?
No, this is a bar specifically for dancing on tables. Because
oh my God, I want to go there.
We normally have a habit of getting kicked out of places or threatened to be kicked out of places for dancing on tables. So we actually found somewhere where we could dance on tables.
Oh my God, I'm going to try and find one in Birmingham.
Steve, well, the bugger is it's a Christmas party, and what we're going to is it's a beer bar. And I don't drink beer anymore. I can't because my bag blows off.
Like German type.
Yeah, it's like
Bavarian.
Yeah, it's like a craft beer. It's like a beers all over the place sort of thing. So I personally would have preferred a vodka bar, but hey ho, beggars can't be choosers and all that jazz. It's all right. I've got a pair of boots on. I might have to just see if I can sneak a couple of vodka minis in my boots. And just pray they don't ask me to take them off. So yeah, we'll be doing tips on how to get through the Christmas party season, food as well, because obviously the food that you get is will be pre-ordered months in advance. Because I know some firms put their Christmas dues in April.
Wow.
How are you meant to remember what you've ordered food-wise off of the menu if you've done it in April?
Totally off point. When are you supposed to put your tree up?
You don't put it up until after the 1st of December. Anyone that sticks it up before then is a mentalist.
Yeah. I don't have a tree.
Oh.
You don't.
Well, I live on my own, so there's no point. But my dad promised me next year he's going to make me a driftwood tree because I asked for it last year, and then that would be my forever tree. But it's no point because I live on my own. There's no point me on Christmas trees. Oh, my Lord.
I like a Christmas tree.
Yeah, but you've got Maisie, haven't you? I think it's Christmas so different when you've got kids. It's still, it's not just that. But
I had a Christmas tree before I had Maisie. I used to have one of those little 3-foot fibre optic things.
Did you?
On the window
ledge. You have a tree, girl. Even if it's the little car magic tree.
I might make a tinsel tree out of because I've made that before out of like a bottle and some tinsel, and I'll make that. That's my tree, and I'll Instagram it.
Just buy one.
Bad? I conned a Lint advent calendar out of my mum the other day. Well, I didn't quite con it. I was actually going to buy it. I had the money in my hand, and she took it off of me and bought it for me because she ate mine last year because I wasn't allowed it. And then Ben got me a Yankee Candle one. So not only do I have my favourite chocolate, I have my favourite candle. So I'm one sport little bugger this year. Amy. Right, it's nearly 9 o'clock. So we are going to wrap up. So for those of you that have been watching this evening, thank you ever so much. If you want any more So, do you know what? I can't get my words out. Right. For those of you watching, if you want any topics you wish for us to discuss in December, so things like on how to get through Christmas or how to avoid the Christmas stresses, anything of that sort of jazz, please inbox us and message us, and we will come up with some sort of compilation that we can discuss about, because us lot can talk for England.
Yeah, or anything that we might have missed, something completely off point, you know. Always available for other ideas.
Yeah, we're available for, yeah, like Steve said, other ideas, because we are only doing 3 shows in December, because we are off for the Christmas week, because we're all with different families and all over the place. So we may not be doing that Thursday. We may be, we may not be. I haven't come up to that agreement yet, so we'll see. Well, we're going to say night for this evening.
I don't know when Christmas is.
Christmas Day, I think, is on a Tuesday this year. I think it's Monday. So we'll say bye.
Okay.
We'll say thank you. And I don't know why I'm bloody waving. I was meant to stop that doing that. So we'll say good night for this evening, and thank you ever so much for watching.
Goodbye. Have a beautiful time.
Again next time. Bye. Bye.